Hey, what's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about none other than Ultima Online. In a land before dungeon finders, raid finders, and easy does it tutorials lived a game that will forever hold a spot in my heart. At its release, it was one of the most savage and unforgiving games of its, and probably now's time. So savage that you could spend weeks or even months getting paid to finally purchase a house, meanwhile being murdered and looted of everything on your corpse during that time, then store all your belongings in your house that you just purchased just to accidentally leave the door unlocked or someone sneak into your house behind you, kill you, and steal everything inside of your house. I'm talking about the father of hardcore MMORPGs, Ultima Online. See, UO originally came out in September of 1997. It's in 2D, it's not the best graphically enhanced game out there, but again, it's from 1997. So what is it that has kept this 20-year-old wizard game going? If you go to www.uo.com, you can clearly see there's still updates very regularly, just about every week. But honestly, I personally haven't played there since the expansion called Mundane's Legacy in 2005, where I played an Elvis archer mage named Peaches that was actually named after my friend Brady's pet hamster, who I thought I was doing good and bathed it, and it actually got pneumonia and died, I think. Yeah, anyways. Currently I play on a shard called UO Outlands. They have essentially created what many refer to as Ultima Online 2. To start off, the entire map is fresh. New towns, new dungeons, new systems. Here's a couple of them. First off, animal taming. It's one of my favorite systems on UO Outlands, probably because I like playing a tamer like most people who play Ultima Online. Well, basically your pet gains experience and levels. As they level, you can put points into like their strength, their dexterity, their hit points, their armor, their magic resist, stuff like that. And you can also select traits to give extra damage or hit points, or increase their healing ability, whatever. Each pet's kind of different and specific, so you can even select which pet's going to take the most aggro from the mob to tank for you. Meanwhile, depending on how you build your character, you can be hitting the monster with your sword or standing out of harm's way, shooting it with arrows and flinging spells at it. And as far as what kinds of pets, anything from a strong mean old husk crab to large blood-spewing dragons or a giant porcupine quill-throwing cats that are named barbed prowlers, which are really popular on boats. More on that in a little bit. Builds. So builds are something unique. They've attempted to make every skill useful. For instance, mining helps increase your damage with a mace weapon. Blacksmithing helps to increase the armor you get from crafted armor. Herding allows your pets to do more damage to that particular monster that you used herding on. But let's go past skills and move on to aspects. Aspects are things like fire, water, void, eldritch, command, blood, things like that. Each with their own unique bonuses and proc abilities from your spellbook or weapon. For instance, command, when activated on your weapon or spellbook, not only heals your pets to full, but also increases their damage for short duration. Fortune, when used on your armor, helps to increase your gold and loot drop percentage, so it's really great for farming, and as well as also helping harvesting skill bonus. So if you're mining and you've got Fortune armor on, well, your mining skill's actually increased. Artisan armor is really cool. It helps to increase your chance at creating what are called master crafted items, which are the best you can get from crafting, and ultimately the only kind of crafted armors that anyone wants. The way you gain in power of these is by killing monsters or bosses, or in the case of Artisan, crafting items, obviously. One thing to note, to keep balance in PvP, the second you engage in PvP combat, your aspect powers are no longer. For the duration your PvP flagged, your aspect will no longer help you. I really like this feature because it keeps the PvP more about skill versus just who has a higher level aspect suit. So in crafting, have you ever noticed in other MMORPGs, crafting is nothing more than a golden time sink? Sure, there's a market for crafters, but it's almost a stock market game of getting in early and just hoping people buy it and you come out on top. Not only does Outlands offer an aspect specifically for crafting, But Outlands allows you to craft weapons and armor at the grade of the most powerful magic items in dungeons or off bosses. Yes, I said bosses, that's in Outlands, and we'll get to that later as well. What's really cool is there's a market for them as well. This game is a self-driven economy, so the community sets the prices based on supply and demand. The prices aren't out of reach either to the new player, nor are they much to laugh at for a veteran player. For example, a new player with a high-end crafted sword might kill a monster and generate about 10 to 15 gold an hour. Then he buys a high-end crafted sword, farms another 30k or so in 2 hours, and is PK'd. Then he loses his sword. The murderer either throws it on his vendor or uses it himself, and the person who was murdered goes and buys a new one. PvP. Since we are on the subject, let's talk about it. Ultima Online PvP is truly one of a kind. You're either really good at it or you're really bad. It's definitely not something you just pick up, roll the flavor of the month class or template, roll your face on the keyboard and get some kills. It takes practice and lots of it. From pre-casting your heals, dropping them on yourself at the perfect time, healing the person that you're PvPing with, knowing your opponent's mana and dropping your offensive spells on them while watching what they are casting so you can cast a magic arrow or a fireball at them to interrupt the perfect time, then switch to a weapon and beating their face in with a katana or some other poison blade. Yeah, you can poison blades. That's really cool. Had fun getting that cured. Outlands has all kinds of PvP. From automatic PvP events hourly, whether it be King of the Hill type game in the middle of town of Andaria or Prevelia called a town struggle, or a siege of a castle that's guarded by the defending champions of the castle siege. Dungeon flashpoints that pit you and your friends against others in the depths of a dungeon that victors a treasure chest. Even GM hosted tournaments that award arena points or even real life cash money. Let me take you down to Storyland. You're farming with your guild leader in Cavernham, making about 20 to 30,000 gold an hour. Having a great time, finding magical items, lots of special loot. Then it happens. Did you just loot an extremely valuable dungeon antiquity while farming? What's that? It sells for 2 million gold on Discord? You better get out of the dungeon immediately, because at any second a couple of red murderer PKs could appear and kill you guys. Loot your golden Powerball lottery ticket and everything else you have farmed. You run out of the dungeon, head to the guild house, and the leader asks you, do you have the antiquity on you? Yeah, you reply. Then the next thing you know, his dragons attack you. He starts unloading different spells on you. You die. He loots your corpse and the antiquity. Now, aside from being just a really shitty person, you decide it's time for you to brush up on your PvP skills. So you, after finding a new guild of course, start brushing up on your PvP skills in the best place possible. Town struggles. Town struggles are a place that you can really learn how to PvP, mostly in group fights. Because when you die, you don't really lose anything, you just respawn. The objective is to control as many points as you can while killing the enemy team. And at the end, you're awarded battle points, which you can then, after accumulating more and more, turn in for a nice payday reward. So, now you're a badass PvPer. You find out your old guild leader likes to fish on his fancy 2 million gold boat on Sundays. Lucky for you, your new guild not only likes to PvP, they also roleplay pirates. So you strap on your skullcap bandana and courser's jacket, head to the high seas. And there he is, fishing in his fancy smancy boat. You pull up and he tries to get away, but he can't. Your boat's much faster than his. Cannons are blasting everywhere, bombs bursting. They're just being thrown all over his deck, killing his crew, killing his pets. He can't do nothing. After some time, your crew boards his ship and it places you right next to him. In fear, he throws himself overboard. You loot his ship and sink it. Meanwhile, you sink and salvage his boat for a ship upgrade worth almost 2 million gold in itself. So, did I catch your attention with ship people? Yeah, that's right, ship people. Recently, there was a large overhaul of the ship system, which brought a lot of popularity to it. Ships is a very expensive, very lucrative part of the game, where you can sail around, pretend you're a pirate, finding ship upgrades and tweaking your boat to build to your desire. Specializing in boarding other ships, cannon fire, or even fishing. The ocean even comes with its own boss, which drops quite a bit of valuable items and upgrades specific to ships. How do you get yourself a boat? Well, you craft one, obviously. The ocean has its own currency, doubloons. Doubloons are used to register your ship and used to pay your crew. You can also then turn them in at the Pavilion Merchant for some really cool house decoration items. There's also another currency called booty. That's right, booty. Once your crew members gain loyalty, which is just another fancy word for experience, you pay them in booty and they level, thus increasing their perks and abilities. Housing. In Ultima Online, you're going to generate a lot of stuff. Your bank's going to fill up really fast. You're going to need a place to store it. The bigger the house, the more storage there is. But that's not all houses are for. Houses can be places where entire guilds meet or alliances just before starting a night of boss killing or taking an entire fleet of ships to raid some enemy guild's ocean boss. Houses can be malls of vendors selling player-crafted wares, rare items, or just different event items from GM events. Just like in real life, people buy, sell, and trade real estate. Some people even make their entire fortune from real estate. Some people make their fortune from being an interior decorator and making beautiful decorations in player houses. Whatever you do with your house is completely up to you. But one thing's for sure, everyone does want a house, and there's not enough land to go around for everybody, thus creating supply and demand. So how do you get one? Well, there's a few ways. You can either find a spot of land and place one there using a deed that you buy from an architect in town. You can buy one from another player, or you can buy one from somebody that's already quit the game and they actually have not logged in for 30 days. Thus, their house falls into what's called an IDOC, in danger of collapsing, and it's a timed thing. And what happens is usually a bunch of guilds end up fighting over this house, depending on how much loot's inside. And then once it drops, it's just a big old PvP fiasco. Small houses get dropped on the plots, or just one big one, and the loot's all gathered up. It ends up being a PvP frenzy. Really cool. Yeah, really cool stuff. Let's change gears a little bit and get back into boss fights. Outlands has some really fun bosses. They all have different mechanics that will really kill you if you're caught off guard. Once you kill a boss or a mini boss, it actually has a chance to drop a token into a random player's bag. If you collect a token from each boss and each mini boss, you can then summon the omniboss. The omniboss will take about an hour to kill with your full guild. If you haven't killed the omniboss after an hour, the gates to the Omni Realm open up to everyone on the server. And it always ends up being a battle of finishing off the omniboss and defending yourself against a slew of murderers trying to kill you and take your omniboss loot. And a regular boss or mini bosses, they can be raided anytime by an enemy guild. And it's pretty common to see a large group of people running towards a boss, and then you obviously know what they are doing, so you raid their boss. Once the boss dies, there's a ton of loot on the body, which takes multiple people or pack horses to carry it out. And at any time, they could die and be looted themselves. A lot of risk there. Each dungeon has one boss and one mini-boss. They spawn on their own, so they can also be summoned by an officer or a leader of your guild. To get a mini-boss, your guild has to have farmed 500,000 gold in that dungeon. To get a regular boss, they would have had to farm 1,000,000 gold in that dungeon. And then the boss just clicks a gump and it summons it on command. So, societies. Society jobs are weekly tasks that you could do for society points, which in turn, they give you points and then you turn them in for rewards. Rewards can be wearable clothes, colored cloth, lanterns, spell hue deeds, which are really cool. They change the color of your spells, and then there's even mount tokens when double clicked. Create a steed that you ride on. My favorite one's the grizzly bear. Some people use their points for themselves, and some people sell their points for gold. Ultima is a really economy-driven game. If you like to make money in games, then I'm telling you, Ultima is definitely the game for you. Strangelands. Every Sunday at 3 a.m. and 3 Pacific time, Strangelands happens. Strangelands is a mini game inside of Outlands that is basically a survival type battle royale game. You choose your template from a predetermined build, each with unique abilities and skills. Then everyone in Strangelands is known as a stranger. You run around killing other players and monsters for trophies and loot, but that's not it. You have a hunger and a thirst meter. As time goes on, they fill up. You can counteract those by eating mushrooms you pick off the ground for hunger, or meat from random monsters. Raindrops make puddles that you can then drink for thirst, stuff like that. Even drink beer and it helps your thirst. Yeah, cask of ale and wine and stuff like that. It's kind of funny. Each game's about 90 minutes, and it is 90 minutes. After 90 minutes is up, the game ends and it's over. However, the game can end early for people if they die from hunger or thirst. If you die from another player or a monster, it just respawns you without any of your loot. At the end of it, you're awarded Strangeland points, which once again, similar to Societies, you can turn in for a reward. Strangelands has some of the coolest house decoration items in their reward cache. There's one of a dead corpse, which I'm really looking forward to making a bar in my house to have him laying down as if he got really drunk and passed out. In conclusion, Ultima Online, in my opinion, Outlands, is the best custom online shard. It's got a great growing community. It isn't just so large that you get lost in the crowd, but it's also not so small where you never see anyone on. The world is populated and alive. It has an extremely active Discord, which is a great place to sell items. There's politics between guilds, egos to be poked at, custom systems that make you want to log in every day and grow your character's power, but not so much that if you don't play for a day or two or a week or a month, or you take a couple months off, that you don't come back and feel like you're really behind. It's a really enjoyable player-driven economy that thrives on crafting and different services. Outlands even is home to some of the most prominent role players around, if that's your thing. If you want to be an orc and slaughter humans, log in Saturday night for the Slaughter Moon. If you want to be a vampire, there's a group that role plays that. If you want to be part of the militia that kills those said groups and protects the innocent for valor and all that good stuff, you can find that. Get your plate bill on and suit up. Whatever you do in Ultima, one thing is for sure. Once you get going, there will be many adrenaline-pumping adventures that you'll remember for years to come. Still to this day, when I get in PvP combat, it's not rare that my heart starts pumping. Even though if I die, it's not really the end of the world. I'll be okay, but something about this game will do that to you. I hope to see you all there. Until then, this was my first video, so give me a like, a sub, and comment below about things that you like about Ultima Online Outlands. See you around.